Morning. My name is Wynn Smith, and I've been a member of this youth group since 2006, and I'd like to start off by telling you a little bit about me. I'm a senior in high school, and I've been a member of this church since birth. I grew up here in Grace Place right down the hall, got my third grade Bible right down there, and went through confirmation in 6th grade, and soon after joined the youth group. I've been heavily involved in our youth group ever since. I'm a member of the youth worship band, and I've been playing the guitar in the band for about 4 years. I'm a member of YAC, or our Youth Advisory Council, and I was recently shanghaied into joining the youth choir. And I'm involved in a lot of other things. I go to Breakfast for the Homeless almost every single month. I've been a mountaintop the last 5 years in a row, and I plan on continuing that streak. I've also been on a mission trip to Nicaragua through our youth group. And lastly, I think I've been to every single Sunday night element that I've been in town for the last 7 years. So that's a little about me and my involvement. Now, I'm sure that every single one of you in the congregation knows exactly what Discovery Weekend is, and exactly what you're sending your kids off to do, and exactly what the theme is. But I think I'll explain it anyway. Discovery Weekend is our youth group's spring weekend retreat. It's geared for the most part towards our younger youth, but that doesn't mean us older kids don't have a good time too. We spend the weekend worshiping through song and music, listening to talks given by youth, and spending time in our disciple groups. We also do things like share each other's chewing gum, stand around awkwardly at dance parties, and have fun while playing responsibly and following all the rules. The main point of this weekend is to get closer to God and to learn more about His unfailing love for us, whether we learn that through a song, skit, or dance party. The theme for this weekend is all about discovering God's love through the church. And when I say the church, I mean this congregation. Each and every one of us has experienced the love of Christ through this congregation, either directly or indirectly. I've spent my entire life in this church, and my entire life I've been shown and given love by the people of this church. Even as a little kid, I remember being shown love. I remember going down the hall every Sunday morning for Sunday school. I remember in Sunday school as a kid when a parent would bring us snacks for the day and come and teach us a lesson on love or greed or some other topic. Coming to teach a classroom full of loud first graders was certainly an example of God's love, although the snacks may not have been a good idea. Also, every Sunday night when we go to the gym across the street for youth group, we eat a dinner prepared by a group of loving parents. Those parents volunteer to make dinner every Sunday night out of love for you and me and our youth group. Also, speaking just to the youth, have you ever thought about our Element volunteers? They spend over 2 hours every Sunday night helping us out at youth group, all out of love for you, this program, this church, and Christ. They don't have to be there. They don't even get paid to be there. They do it out of love. This church is full of love. There's love bursting out of the steeple. There's love all around you. To see it, all you have to do is look. Ever since I was a kid, I've been surrounded by love in this church, even when I haven't recognized it. But despite the love and compassion shown to me during my childhood, the time that I felt the most surrounded by the love of God was just a few years ago. 2 years ago, when I was just 16 and in 10th grade, my father, Edwin Smith, died suddenly. Never in all my life have I felt more of God's love through this church than I did in the days, weeks, and months following. It was in this sanctuary that we had the visitation, and I saw the members of this church. I saw members of this church who I had never seen or met telling me how they were praying for me by name. I'll never forget the sympathy cards I received afterwards, almost all of them from members of this church. I'll never forget the second of happiness I felt when I saw about 6 guys from the youth group, all seniors, coming through the visitation line, all guys I looked up to and wanted to be like one day. I'll never forget all the meals that members of this church prepared so that our family wouldn't be worried by simple things like that. In the aftermath of that chapter in my life, the members of this church had an outpouring of love that I wouldn't have thought possible without the love of God. To both the youth and adults, I want you to know that you're surrounded by love in this church. You might not feel it, you may not even want to feel it, but it's there. If you consciously recognize these acts of God's love, you'll soon see just how much God's love shines through the people sitting around you. So what is love from a biblical point of view? 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 8 gives us an idea. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love is each and every one of these things. Can you think of a time when someone in this church was patient to you, or kind, or didn't get jealous when you thought they would, or didn't seem to hold a grudge, or didn't get angry when you thought they surely would? I'm sure you can answer yes to at least one of these questions. I know that in my years here, I've been shown love in most, if not all, of these ways. I mean, if any adult dealing with me as a little kid wasn't showing patience, I don't know what they were doing. I know for a fact that love has been shown to me, real love, like the kind described in 1 Corinthians. God also loves us in this way. God is a patient and kind God. He is not easily angered. He doesn't keep records of our wrongs. He always protects us, trusts us, has hope in us, and perseveres through us. But he can only work through us if we meet him halfway and have a relationship with him. Honestly, I didn't used to have a strong relationship with God. Sure, I'd come to church on Sunday nights, but that was to hang out with my friends. It was only about 2 years ago that I truly developed a strong sense of God's presence and started letting him work in my life. What happened when I let God in? I became happier. I became more confident in myself because the only person I needed to make happy was God. And he already loved me and was going to protect me from the world. Through youth group, as well as retreats like Discovery and Crave, and small groups like Synago, I let my relationship with God grow. Maybe you're trying to strengthen your relationship with God. Maybe that's why you came on this retreat or are sitting in this congregation this morning. I have one piece of advice if that's what you're trying to do. If you want God to change your life and work through you, just let him. Simple as that. Don't overcomplicate something that's as simple as saying, God, I want to live for you and be yours and live by your example. When I did this, I really did notice a difference. So, what's an easy way to get started letting God into your life? Well, come to Element in Sunday school, or Synergy in Synago, or all three. Go on Discovery again next year, or maybe a mission trip. To the adults in the congregation, the same applies to you. Join a Sunday school class, find a Bible study to attend, get plugged in. There are so many ways for you to get involved here, it would blow your mind. Let God's love into your heart, then come to church to keep the fire alive. Letting God's love in was the best decision I ever made. But really, it was only the first step. God doesn't want us to just have a relationship with him. He wants us to go out and shine his light for all to see. Matthew 5:14-16 says, "You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to the whole house, to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see the good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." I have tried my hardest these past few years to answer God's call to love others and glorify him. Usually I try to do this through service. As I said in the beginning of this sermon, I've been to Nicaragua once, Mountaintop 5 times, and breakfast for the homeless about 50 times. I am not much of a talker, which also begs the question, what the heck am I doing up here? But I like to work, and I love to serve. By far, the service opportunity that has shaped my life most of all has been Mountaintop. Basically, at Mountaintop, we build porches and sheds, repair roofs, do yard work, and stuff like that. Nowhere on all this earth have I felt God's love more than I have in East Tennessee at Mountaintop. I've seen some crazy things at Mountaintop, made some amazing friends, and truly come closer to God. I remember my first year, we visited a woman who had just recently lost her teenage son. Just as we finished the job, she asked if she could pray with us. So we said, okay. And she prayed an incredible prayer. And I'll never forget the sadness in her voice and the tears running down her face as she prayed for her lost son. It's little moments like these that going into the world to serve can bring. When we go out to serve, we're sharing God's love. We don't have to share his love with just our words. Our actions will do just fine too. However, if you want to go out and spread the light, you don't have to go as far as East Tennessee. Every first Sunday of the month, Butler, our associate youth director, takes a group of youth down to Holy Community Methodist Church to prepare breakfast for the homeless of Memphis. To all you youth out there, this is a great way to serve, and it's open to anyone who wants to come. You might tell yourself, I don't want to go serve the homeless. That'll make me uncomfortable. But ask yourself, what's more uncomfortable? Not knowing what to say to someone and trying to have an awkward conversation, or having an empty stomach and nothing to eat. I challenge each and every one of you. I challenge each and every one of you to come down to prepare breakfast at least once this year. And I'm not speaking to just the youth. Adults, I challenge you to get involved too. Not just adults with kids in the youth group. Even if you don't have kids, or your kids are too old or too young for the youth group, you should still get involved. We don't bite, I promise. It's never too late to discover God's love. And I've often heard adults say that they learn more from us youth than we do from them. Why would you want to miss out on that? Youth groups exist because adults need saving too. So I challenge you to get involved with our youth. Getting back to Discovery Weekend and our theme on love, as you recall 1 Corinthians 13, 1-8. I ask you to recall 1 Corinthians 13, 1-8. It gives us a pretty good definition of love. Jesus said in Matthew that the two greatest commandments were to love the Lord your God with all your heart and to love your neighbor as yourself. The two greatest commandments, and they're both about love. Jesus then launches into the parable of the Good Samaritan. We are called to love our neighbor as ourselves. We should follow 1 Corinthians' ideal idea for love. We should be patient with our neighbor. We should be kind. We should not envy or boast to our neighbor. We should keep no record of wrongs with our neighbor, etc. And who does Jesus say is our neighbor at the end of that particular parable? That's right, everyone. We are called to treat each and every person with that kind of love and respect. Lastly, I want to say thank you to this congregation and this youth group for helping to shape the person I am today. When I leave for college in the next few months, I plan on taking the light of God's love with me, as well as the memories I have of this church, the good times I've had here, and the friends I've made here. And please, love each other with a Christ-like love and share it to the world.